Welcome to the Work System podcast, where we help entrepreneurs make more and work less using systems. And I'm your host, Josh Fonger. And today we have special guests. We've got Tom Lindsay and Steve Rigby. And Tom and Steve both work at Pure Health, which offers an amazing program for entrepreneurs and small business owners. They want to offer an affordable healthcare option for themselves and their employees. And, they have a really deep background introduction. So I'm going to let them both really explain what they offer and how they help small businesses. So without further ado, welcome Tom and Steve.
Hey, thanks. Thanks for having us, Josh, and hello, Facebook world. So I've been in the professional employer organization industry, or PEO industry, for the last 26 years, my entire career basically, which is where we take over the payroll, HR, employee benefits, and work comp, and workplace safety for small to mid-sized companies. So that's ever since I fell off the turnip truck, that's what I've been doing. Mm-hmm. About 3 years ago, though, I sold my shares and resigned from the company that I co-founded back in 2004, and crossed over to the dark side to do sales for the company that I had co-founded, and that's when I met up with Steve and John, and we subsequently started Pure Health. But the reason Pure Health came into existence in the first place is because when I left, I lost my health insurance, and really after I took a big pay cut leaving, and I couldn't afford the COBRA premium, and I went out to the marketplace to look for alternatives and found nothing affordable, nothing of any value, and was really frustrated, and actually went uninsured for a little while, which was really scary. And then I was underinsured for a little while too, which was not so scary, but still scary. Mm-hmm. And then I found Steve. Actually, Steve and John introduced me to a medical cost sharing arrangement called Sedera, which is a non-insurance alternative. And although, and I'm an insurance guy, right? My entire career, I'm a chartered property casualty underwriter, a broker. So, anytime someone says, non-insurance and healthcare at the same time, I'm like, my antennas go up, and mm-hmm. They did. But after some significant due diligence and research, and meeting with the company and just really digging in, I was absolutely amazed, and I fell in love. And so we started Pure Health so that we could bring this same solution to self-employed entrepreneurs, freelancers, small business owners. And so I have Steve to thank for that. And so I'll publicly thank him. Thank you, Steve.
Okay, so then Steve, how did you get into the, so tell me, Steve, then how did you get into this health share plan you're doing right now?
So as Tom mentioned that, his background is professional employer organization, PEO. Well, my background to a certain extent is there as well. Mm-hmm. And through that, we work with a lot of small to medium-sized companies. And the one thing that everybody would always ask us was, can you find me an affordable healthcare offering for me and my employees? And it's the same question we got time and time again. And, we were frustrated with the traditional offerings that everyone normally experiences, the high deductible healthcare products that are available in the market today. Mm-hmm. Most healthcare offerings have a $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 deductible before the benefit even kicks in. And I mean, if you think about it, how usable really is that, as insurance? It's not very usable, right? So we kind of went looking for alternatives, and actually by accident, we're introduced to Sedera, and we're very, very excited about what it brought to the table. And through our due diligence, we just decided that we loved it and wanted to offer it. Both Tom and I are members of Sedera. I actually have a story that is very, very personal in nature that kind of draws a comparison between more traditional offerings and Sedera. I had to have my knee operated on, and I was with one of the large insurance carriers at the time. And my doctor said, Steve, you've got a lot of damage here. We need to go in, and at minimum, we need to clean it up the best we can. At maximum, we need to replace your knee. But your insurance company won't let me do that. They're going to force a treatment protocol on us meaning me and the doctor. That was 10 months of cortisone injections and lubrication injections. And my doctor flat out said, Steve, it's not going to help. You need surgery. But the bottom line was I had to postpone the surgery. I ultimately got it, but it cost me a lot of money out of pocket. And with Sedera, I could have had that surgery done immediately by the doctor that I wanted, not worried about, telling me who I had to go to or what I had to do. And it would have cost me $500 instead of $5,000 or $6,000. So the difference is very significant. And that really solidified it in my mind that it was something that we needed to bring to our customers and to anybody else who's struggling with the cost of healthcare in America today.
Yeah, and you and both of you guys, we were talking before the show, and that was kind of fun because like I told you, I do a medical cost sharing program as well and have for the last 10 years. And it's definitely, it saved us a ton of time, ton of money, ton of grief. And like you just mentioned, that key thing is that you have the freedom to choose, and so do your employees in this case, what kind of, what doctor you want to go to, what treatment you want. And you don't need to just follow the plan and stay within the parameters of somebody telling you that you have to do it this way to get things approved. You can just go right to the place you need. So what is the, for the people who have never heard of healthcare or health cost savings plans, are they legal? I mean, are they illegal? Because I know that the law in healthcare has changed in America recently. And then next, how do you educate the public on something where they're just used to doing health insurance and they've never even considered switching?
Yeah, they're definitely legal. They are not, however, a replacement for minimum essential coverage or minimum value coverage under the ACA. So an employer who has 50 or more full-time equivalent employees and is subject to the Affordable Care Act, offering a health share or medical cost sharing arrangement is not a replacement for ACA compliance. One caveat though, religious health shares, some religious health shares do comply with minimum essential coverage as an individual, but since the mandate went away and there's no tax penalty associated with not having minimum essential coverage as an individual, you don't have to worry about that anymore. But legal, yes. Compliant with ACA, no. But not being compliant with the ACA is not illegal.
Okay, very nuanced. Okay, so you can do it, and there's no fee, and there's no penalty for doing it.
Correct.
Okay, interesting. So then I've got to imagine that your big hurdle is just educating the public. So public's here listening and watching. How do you convince them? Because I had a conversation with one of my clients, and she is of the same faith I am, religious. And so for her, the conversation had to do with health sharing, and she was paying something like $1,800 a month in health insurance, and no one in her family had made any claims in like 5 years. And I was like, you probably should switch plans. And she's like, no, I can't switch the plan. I've always been on the same plan. I got to do health insurance. And she just, in her mind, she thought, if I don't have insurance, I'm a bad citizen or a bad person, or I just can't get beyond that. So how do you get people beyond that thought where they just feel like they have to have it?
Well, great question. Yeah. If I could jump in, Tom. So one of the things that we always tell people is that this is different. It's unique. You may not have been exposed to it. And then the last thing we always say is, and it may not be for you, right? And there's reasons why it may or may not be for any particular individual. But you hit the nail on the head a minute ago by saying, the cost. We just had an individual, 54-year-old male, family of 5, that was on a traditional plan, insurance plan, high deductible, $5,000 deductible. He was paying $1,989 a month for that plan for his family of 5. He just couldn't afford it any longer and decided that medical cost sharing was something that he needed to explore. We educated him, and at the end of the day, he moved over, and the cost of the medical cost sharing program for him and his family is $820. So $1,989 versus $820. I mean, he's saving, $12,000 a year just in the monthly expense. Never mind the reduced, not having the high deductible, other out-of-pocket expenses that he's experiencing. So it is different, and it requires you to sort of get your head and your arms wrapped around it. Once you understand it and experience it, really, there's no comparison. It provides such great value, such high quality service. As you mentioned earlier, there's no network that you have to be concerned about. There's nothing in between you and your doctor. In my case with my knee, I had an insurance company making decisions on behalf of me and my doctor that were not in my best interest, right? Well, with Sedera and the medical cost sharing approach, there is nobody getting in between you and your doctor. You are collectively making that decision that's right for you and your health. So,
but it is a mind shift, and I think one of the ways you can help people get over that too is to help them separate insurance from healthcare, right? You know, health insurance companies don't provide healthcare; they provide a means to pay for. So it's just one way to pay for healthcare. There are other ways. Health sharing, medical cost sharing is another way for paying for it, and it's often the best way and the least expensive way for most people versus insurance, because there is so much built into that premium that makes it more expensive than it needs to be, right? You have all of the administrative expenses associated with regulatory compliance, just handling, you know, issuing a policy, administering the policy, you know, negotiating networks. There's a whole bunch going on, a busy work behind the scenes that you're paying for in that premium that doesn't exist over on the health share side. So, I mean, you can pay all those salaries and pay the shareholders' profits, or you can use it towards medical expenses. I
think what helped me get my mind around it was I used to work as a real estate developer for helping develop Walgreens, those Walgreens pharmacies, right?
Yeah.
And so when you're developing any kind of building, they require all these different insurances because they figure that you're going to have, you know, some kind of insurance claim while you're building the building or after the building's open, and all these municipalities required. And but Walgreens, they said, no, we're self-insured. So instead of paying insurance on every single project that they're doing, on the construction, on everything, they just said, no, we have money in the bank. We're not getting insurance. If we get $1 million claim, we'll pay the $1 million claim. We're like, there is no, we don't actually have any insurance because we don't need the insurance.
Right.
We have enough money to cover the problem. And thought that was very interesting. Like, you don't actually even need it. That's what got me into thinking about health share as well, is, you know, actually, if something goes wrong, what would be, like, how catastrophic would the problem have to be for me to really need insurance? And if that thing really did happen, would I just be able to pay out of pocket for it anyways, or be in a payment plan to pay it off?
Yeah, totally. That's a great way to look at it, right? Because, I mean, insurance is, you're just transferring the risk to someone else. So the question is, how much risk, you know, are you willing and able to take? And, you know, in this case, you're not transferring the risk because nobody's obligated to pay for your medical expenses, but it's a voluntary arrangement between a group of like-minded people where you guys have all gotten together and decided, hey, we're going to help each other sharing those expenses, right? And I think that you know, people are open to that, and you know, there's kind of this, our culture is, we're kind of a giving, caring, you know, culture. We take care of people, and that's what medical cost sharing is all about.
So why don't you walk us through, just so people can see in practical sense. So I break my leg, I go to the ER, let's just say it's a bad break, car accident, and they've got to solve it right away, and I get a bill for, I don't know, $5,000. What happens with a health share plan compared to insurance, typical insurance?
Tom, I'll take it if you don't mind.
Yeah.
So in a traditional insurance situation, and you break your leg, you go to the hospital, they're going to ask you for an insurance card. You will end up paying a deductible at that time, or a portion of the deductible at that time. And you'll they'll bill the insurance company, and you will get what they call a balance bill. Your insurance will not cover the entire cost of that medical treatment, and you'll end up paying some amount of it, right? If you have a high deductible, you're going to pay probably most of it. With Sedera, it's a little bit different. The medical cost sharing option, everything revolves around what they refer to as a medical need. And a medical need, if you use the broken leg scenario, let's say you fall down the stairs and you break your leg, you're immobile, somebody calls an ambulance, they take you to the hospital, they x-ray you, they MRI, they ultimately perform surgery, you've got physical therapy. Everything pertaining to that medical situation is referred to as a medical need and is subject to what Sedera calls an initial unshareable amount. So when you become a member, you determine, Tom talked about how much risk do you want, you determine how much of an initial unshareable amount do you want to sign up for. $500 is the most common one and the lowest one, and it can go up from there. So under that scenario, you would have the hospital bill you, and you would be responsible for $500, and all the bills above that are shareable with the Sedera medical community for as long as it takes for you to be free and clear of that situation. So if you think about it, let's say it was very, very serious and you were in physical therapy for 2 years. That whole 2-year period, all the medical bills pertaining to that need would be submitted to the community and shared with the community. In an insurance world, when the calendar year ticks over, you've got your deductible has reset. So if you've got $5,000 deductible, it's going to start all over again. And all that physical therapy you're going to be paying for right from dollar one again, right? So that's one of the beautiful things about the medical cost sharing community with Sedera is that it goes for as long as it takes until that medical situation, you have been free and clear of all treatment and any cost associated with that.
So the other question I think that people have is just the fear of, well, what if I get, I don't know, some kind of horrible cancer and it's going to cost like $2 million to solve my problem? You know, will Sedera really last that long, or do they cap out at 100,000 and then say, good luck?
Yeah, great question. And everybody, it frequently comes up. You know, there's, this is how it works. So Tom mentioned it earlier that what we have here is a community of like-minded people that are voluntarily sharing the expenses of the community. And all Sedera does is administer the payment of those medical expenses, right? The money basically is being held by the entire community. And what they do is that every month they put a good amount of that money aside into a major medical fund to protect against things like a serious cancer. The reality is it's very well managed. There is an aspect of it that helps control the cost, and that is the medical bill negotiation part of it. Sedera has a sister company that all they do is they renegotiate medical bills. Let me give you a real example. They had a member that delivered a premature baby, and the baby was spent some time in the neonatal intensive care unit. And ultimately the family was presented with a bill for $200,000 for that stay. They submitted that bill to Sedera. Sedera kicked in their medical negotiation group. They negotiated that bill from $200,000 down to $40,000. And then they paid the member $39,500, and then the member paid that $40,000 to the hospital. You know, so it's a very, very it's very slick the way the process is established, how well it works. On average, they're negotiating bills across the board down by more than 50%. That just kind of shows you how much additional cost is built into the system. So Tom and I both are members. We have 100% confidence in their ability to manage the expenses of the business and to make sure that all bills are paid.
But there is no annual or lifetime limit to how much the community will share. And there's a set of guidelines, membership guidelines, right? And those guidelines are what everybody has agreed to follow to determine what is shareable and what isn't shareable. So those, and there aren't, like I said, there isn't a annual or lifetime max to the sharing.
Yeah, anybody who's watching this, I've got clients who are dentists and surgeons and podiatrists and optometrists, and they all love patients who are not using traditional insurance.
Yeah,
we're gonna
cash
pay. Yeah, we're gonna pay cash. So they're always happy. I've never had someone say, "I'm not going to negotiate." They always lower the price when they realize that they don't have to deal with paying through going through insurance and dealing with that. So that's interesting. So the price goes down. You get it paid for. You never pay more than your deductible, or maybe there's another phraseology used for deductible.
Initial uninsurable amount.
Initial uninsurable amount. That's all these legalities. Can't say the word deductible. But I just think it's great. I mean, it really blew my mind when I started doing this 10 years ago, and I recommend people all the time. Not necessarily my plan. I never heard of Sedera until today, but it still is I think it's the fear of being new and the fear of, well, and it's also the shame. Maybe you guys can speak to this. This is very odd.
Totally.
So when someone says, "Hey, do you have health insurance?" I say, "No, I don't." And they're like, "Oh, you don't have health insurance. What's something wrong with you?
What's wrong with you? Yeah.
Are you an idiot?" And I say, "No, are you?" No, I don't say that. But their mind can't wrap their head around the fact that like insurance is not healthcare. Like I take care of my health. I just buy what I need, what I want, when I want it, wherever I want. It's true freedom. So because being healthy has nothing to do with health insurance. Actually, healthcare has nothing to do with taking care. Like health insurance has nothing to do with actually taking care of your health.
Right. It's just one way to pay for it. But there is that stigma totally where, I don't have insurance. I am a second class citizen, or, I'm poor, or you're going to think ill of me. What are my in-laws going to say when they find out?
It is the oddest thing. And so I guess I'm coming out of the closet about this right now on national news here, but it really, it's very odd. They think that they can't seem to get their brain around it. Now I'll run through the math scenarios. I'm sure you run through math scenarios with your folks. And it's like, so really under any circumstance, mathematically, you would save a ton of money. And they'd say, but I wouldn't have insurance. And I'd say that, but that's not why you want to be healthy, right? And they still can't get their brains around it because they're unwilling to do it. Like it's illegal or it's a sneaky or something. So how do you overcome that?
Yeah, well, it's really a badge of honor. I wear it as a badge of honor. Like I said before, I'm an insurance broker, right? I'm an insurance agent, and I've been in insurance my entire career. Now I've been in, large program insurance. So I understand the concept of self-insurance, or partially being partially self-insured. I've done that my whole career. So for me, it's not a foreign concept that I would use this alternative method to, handle the exposure associated with getting sick or getting hurt. So, but still, there is that stigma, and when you say, okay, well, the community is not legally obligated in any way, but the insurance company is by virtue of the policy. And so that's what I'm kind of giving up. But the question is, what do I believe in more? And over here on the health insurance side, there's a lot of things going on in that world that just don't sit well. They're not right. And this is a different approach, a community approach. It feels much better to me to be a part of this. And I'm happy to be a part of a movement that helps to disrupt this massive, conglomeration of companies that have a stranglehold over healthcare in America. And I feel more like a warrior. I like I said, I wear it with a badge of honor, and I'll use my insurance experience to say, hey, I'm doing it. I'm comfortable with it. You need to do what you feel comfortable with. I'm not going to, tell you what to do, but here's why I do it. And again, I have more expertise and knowledge than the average, buyer.
So let's say, let's pretend I'm an employer. I've got 5 employees, and I'm listening to this and I'm thinking, oh yeah, I want to do this. What are some of the tough challenges? Would it be, what if my employees have pre-existing conditions? Is that some of the problem where they're afraid to switch over because they've been with the plan for 10 years and they're afraid of what's going to drop off, or you might lose your chance to see the doctor you're used to? Are those usually the problems?
That's a real deal. And Steve's probably best to answer that. But just, I would say one thing about that is that, because of maybe the one good thing, dare I say, of the Affordable Care Act is the fact that you can't be denied coverage, right? At any time, well, not any time, but at open enrollment, once a year, you can enter the marketplace, the Affordable Care Act marketplace, and get coverage no matter what your health situation is. But then I'll let Steve.
Yeah, you asked a great question, Josh, about you mentioned pre-existing conditions. So there's a number of emotional reasons why somebody might not want to participate in a medical cost share. There's really only one, I don't want to go so far as to say logical reason why you wouldn't, but for the most part, the one reason why it really doesn't work for somebody potentially is a pre-existing medical condition. And the reason being is that, so Sedera not being insurance, there's no underwriting, there's no denying acceptance into the program based on a health history. Everybody can participate, right? But by doing that, they're not willingly signing up for existing medical conditions. Like if you were diagnosed with cancer on a Monday and decided to sign up for Sedera on Friday, I mean, that just wouldn't be fair to the community, right? So as a result, the way it works is that if you've been diagnosed, treated, or had symptoms of an injury or an illness for the past 3 years, under the first year of membership with Sedera, any medical bills pertaining to that injury or illness are not shareable with the community in the first year. In the second year, you can share up to $15,000 of expenses. In the third year, you can share up to a maximum of $30,000. And then beyond that third year, it's shareable completely like any other medical need would be. It's no longer considered pre-existing. So that's the one thing that we always get, and then it's important to sometimes talk through it, because what people think is a pre-existing condition and might be a reason why they don't want to participate. In fact, when you do the math on it, or if you really work through the scenario, it's okay. And I'll give you an example. We had a member was considering leaving a United Healthcare traditional high deductible plan. They were paying a very large amount on a premium for a $5,000 deductible. And the person said, my husband had a heart attack 10 years ago, and every year, twice a year, has to go to a cardiologist where they put him on EKG, they run his blood, and just make sure that he's fine. So as far as Sedera is concerned, that's a pre-existing condition because he is still being treated for a medical situation, right? So in that first year, anything wouldn't, he wouldn't be able to share any of those expenses. And then in the second year, there's some shareable, third year shareable, and then fourth year, it's completely shareable. So I said, well, let's look at it for a second. 2 times a year cardiologist, that's a $200 visit per, maybe $250. That's on the high end, right? So for $500 out of pocket, you could pay those visits. You're paying for them now under your traditional plan because you have a $5,000 deductible, right? So you're already paying that. And let's take a look at the monthly cost savings. I mean, she was saving over $4,000 a month in the cost of her premium versus the cost of medical cost sharing. So I said, does it make sense for you to save $4,000, spend $500 on 2 doctor visits, and to have overall better care, better control? And at the end of the day, she said, yeah, you're right. So they did sign up and everything was fine. Now, having said that, if that person said, hey, my wife has been diagnosed with breast cancer, she's going through chemotherapy, then that wouldn't be a good scenario for someone to drop a more traditional insurance plan and move over to medical cost sharing. It just, it wouldn't make sense for that individual. So that is the one real reason why it may not work for everybody. Like you hit the nail on the head earlier, there's lots of emotional reasons why you might want to not do it. The stigma of it, not having an insurance card, being a self-pay patient, not having that, being able to say I'm insured. And there's a whole bunch of emotional reasons why, but really there's only one logical reason, and that's the pre-existing condition.
Yeah. And it sounds like you did the math in front of her and she realized it. I think psychologically, people also don't like the idea of having to pay. They like the idea of the insurance company paying. And, but if you do the math, if you're saving $800 a month on your insurance premium by doing this saving or cost sharing thing, it ends up being pretty easy to just, you just go to the appointment and you just pay, because you're saving so much money.
What's funny is people say, I don't want to have to I don't want to pay the doctor. I want the insurance company to do it. It's like, well, you paid a deductible. Yeah. The insurance didn't cover everything. You got a bill that you had to pay. So you're paying the doctor, whether you like it or not. In this case, you're paying the doctor for all of it. And that money is coming from the medical cost to your community. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it really is I always use this example too. I talked about my knee surgery. What I didn't tell you was about 4 months afterward, I got a call from the insurance company. And hi, Steve, this is David calling from, in this case, it was United Healthcare. Mm-hmm. And he didn't say, hey, Steve, how's your knee? Or hey, Steve, how are you? It was, hey, Steve, I'm looking at your records here and you had your knee operated on. And although your surgeon was in our network and although the surgery center was in our network, the anesthesiologist wasn't in our network. And you owe us $1,500.
Wait a minute. You forgot to ask the anesthesiologist if he was in your network before?
Just when he was about to put me under, I grabbed him by the wrist and said, hey, are you in the network?
You're such an amateur.
I know, it's crazy, right? So under the Sedera situation, let's tell a different story and one that illustrates, I think, a very valuable point. One of their members delivered a baby that had some complications. Mm-hmm. And it was a little dicey for a while. They were very concerned about it. There was some obvious medical expenses related to it. And she got on the phone with Sedera Member Services, and the very first question that they asked was, how's the baby? How are you? How's the baby, right? And she was kind of blown away by that. And she was so blown away by the entire experience of how Sedera facilitated the payment of the bills, how caring and compassionate they were, mm-hmm. that when it came time for her to go back to work, she actually called Sedera and said, I am so blown away by you guys. I want to come work for you. And wow. She was hired by them. She's been with them for about 3 years now. And to me, that illustrates exactly how amazing the community is and how amazing the company is.
It's a huge point and a huge differential between the two scenarios, right? Insurance, they're not really in the customer service business. Mm-hmm. You don't really get customer service. I've never had a conversation with a health insurance company mm-hmm. that I enjoyed. Yep. Whereas on the flip side with Sedera, these people, they're not there to generate a gazillion dollars in shareholder returns or to, deny anything. They're there to help you get the highest quality healthcare at the lowest possible cost. Mm-hmm. And they truly actually care. And I mean, it's a culture, right? Mm-hmm. They have that, it's baked into the company and to who they are. And it's like having a medical, concierge, right? Someone to walk your hand through the what can be a very confusing process of receiving medical treatment, right? And, we've kind of come to this point where because of insurance and it's like somebody else's problem and we just show up and, and then they'll tell us later how much we owe. And, somehow we'll get a bunch of stuff in the mail and it'll, eventually, we'll end up paying a bunch but it's kind of like somebody else's problem, right? They've kind of mm-hmm. convinced us that, mm-hmm. that, we don't have much control over it or much mm-hmm. to do with it. We just go get the treatment. They take care of everything else. Mm-hmm. Whereas with medical cost sharing, it's more empowering. Mm-hmm. And, you now approach it from the perspective of, it's me and the rest of my friends in this community. And, mm-hmm. We're here helping each other out. Mm-hmm. And Sedera is, they know the system, the processes, they know where to get care. They know who delivers the best care mm-hmm. and they walk you through.
Yep. So. Yeah, we could talk about this for a long time. This is something that I have a lot of interest in because I work with a lot of doctors and they will look at someone's insurance and they will say, well, based on your insurance, here is the plan you should do. Not, here is the plan you should do because it's the best for your health. And
Exactly.
that definitely clouds both the people getting the care and the doctors by having this third party in the middle screwing up what is actually supposed to be, what's in best interest for you. That definitely screws it up. And then also, like you said, members are going to care for each other because they don't want to run up the cost of their own program. So they're actually going to get what they need, as opposed to with insurance, you're like, oh, well, insurance cover. Well, they're going to cover this, 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 this. I'm going to use all those things. I've hit my deductible. I might as well just, get all sorts of tests. And
the sooner I hit it, the better, right? It's like, what else can I do?
And I had a statistics professor in my MBA program, and he said that was the biggest drain on society. He said that his wife had a bunch of cancer and other issues. And he said that whenever he would go to the hospital, he'd say, oh, my chest hurts, my arm hurts, my leg hurts. And he would get, just all sorts of tests, because he said he had his deductible so soon that he would just blow out all the tests he could because he knew they were all, essentially free. And he said there's no cap to it. No one stops him. And he said that it's kind of ridiculous because people don't see it as their money because it's the big bad insurance company.
Yeah, exactly.
And it dissociates them from actually paying for their health because they don't understand what.
Yeah, and you don't, you're paying for it, right? You're paying for it, and everybody else, because of the premiums that go. The insurance company is not going to not make money. Does that make sense? They're going to make money.
Uh-huh.
and you're going to pay for the cost of care, period. Mm-hmm. All of it, because they're going to charge premiums sufficient enough to cover all their costs and make a bundle. So you're only fooling yourself.
It's just math. Well, I know we're going a little overtime here. What's one question I didn't ask either of you, but I probably should have, that you want to leave the audience with?
Did you ask Steve how old he was?
Well, after
they don't need to know that. I think we pretty much covered most of it. Tom, is there something?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's.
Well, then where can people find you? So what, where should they go if they want to find out more and do some little research for their own healthcare programs?
Well, you can go to GOT, that's gotpurehealth.com. Mm-hmm. And you can also find us on LinkedIn and on Facebook. Mm-hmm. So those are good places to go as well. But gotpurehealth.com would be the first stop. And there you can schedule an appointment with us if you want to talk about it. You can also get a free copy of part 2 of Dr. Josh Luke's book called Health Wealth for You, which talks about ways to become an engaged healthcare consumer. Mm-hmm. And you can also watch a webinar that goes more in depth about what we've been talking about. And again, from there, you can schedule an appointment with us. You can read the member guidelines, see the rates, or the membership fees, and read some FAQs, do all kinds of fun stuff.
Sounds like a great time. But, healthcare is important. So everyone watching this, whether recording or live, go to gotpurehealth.com. If you're curious about exploring, what I've done for years, kind of the secret way, little hack to improve your health, make better, smart choices, and save money, and be a part of a community where it actually helps each other. So it's kind of a win-win-win. So I'm all for it.
Work the system. You've been working the system, my friend.
I decided a while ago just to not even try to be normal. Just, being right is different than being normal, I guess I would say. So anyways, go to gotpurehealth.com. Check out these guys' work. And who knows, maybe Sedera could be right for you and your team and your employees. And also, those of you watching this live or the recording, if you want a copy of Sam Carpenter's book right there behind me, Work the System, you can leave a review of this podcast or any podcast, and then send a picture of that review to info@workthesystem.com. We're drawing a name out of a hat each week and sending out a copy to one lucky winner of the week. Otherwise, stay tuned next week. I'll have another guest like Tom and Steve, or one of my previous clients, or another business expert who's going to share with you how to improve your business so you can make more and work less. I'll see you next week.